Right. Yeah, wrong. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. Well, I say. Well, I never. Allowing everyone to get their feet under the table, get their derrieres in the pew. Although, I have to say, I did see Rachel from Accounts walking Downing Street today. Have you seen the size of her? I mean, it's probably got its own postcode. To be fair, that's because she's sitting on it all the time in a bloody bank. But Hugh Joss Reeves is what I'm going to call her from now on. Bloody hell. Postcode Reeves. It's the size of it. Didn't give her much cushioning. I mean, I shouldn't be so bold, to be fair. But even though she had that massive cushion, she still didn't look as if she was taller than dwarf Starmer when she sat down next to him while oh, bless. He was tapping her shoulder, and I was thinking, that doesn't look very heterosexual to me, mate. No, not at all. Anyway, we're going to talk about him and Macron. We've got loads tonight. I know that Des has said thoughtful. My hairy backside, Des, so to speak. But we're going to. There's certain bits of information that have come in today. And I thank Des for what you sent me earlier, and I will use that on Sunday, on Mothering Sunday, this coming Sunday. Just allowing everyone to get into the body of the Kirk. So remember, if you've brought your Battenberg, share and share alike. Yeah, wrong. So the Sister Mary did say to me a little earlier that she was going to put some plates out because, decorum. At all. So if you do have any Battenberg to share, please put it on the plates because seemingly it was a right state, the body of the Kirk, after last Sunday's sermon. We are going to get to your comments in a moment. I'm just, allowing people to go, oh, bloody hell, it's the Reverend. We better switch YouTube on, darling. Switch that telly shite off. Technical term that we use in YouTube lives. I've just poured a very lovely hibiscus, and thank you to Stuart for the Jaeger bombs. I might get a bit lively after all that Jägermeister. Yeah, I am the Jaeger master, to be fair. No, I'll give that. Jaeger master is Stuart. He's the German Meister. For all your kindness, Stuart. Thank you. So, next live. As we start, we've now hit 100. Smash the likes on your way in, yeah, wrong'uns. Because I would appreciate a little support this evening. Why? Well, I'm kind of going out on a limb with a few things. So do you want to know who Geopolitics' real dad is? It's coming. So next live, 159, it's on Sunday, Mothering Sunday. Now, I do appreciate that at least one day of the year you have to be kind. And as I say many, many times, you'll always know who your mother is, but you'll never know who your father is. In the majority of cases. I know there are some anomalies. But I know who my mother was, thankfully, because I looked... well, they're still trying to work out who the ginger was in the family, and it was either my granddad or the dustbin man, because there wasn't any gingers in my family. So I know who my mother was. My dad might have been the bin man, bless him, because I do know my father was full of shite. So, Stuart, evening, Rev. Sister Mary wanted to try some Jaeger bomb in her red wine. You've got to be gentle with the nuns, man, because you know why they call them nuns? Because they don't get none. So, seemingly, that's why I thought, hang on, her speech is a bit slurred. Is she having a stroke? Oi, get from under me cassock. You're wrong. Sister Mary's a little bit tipsy. She's gone to the chippy to try and sober up before the Simon begins. I think Sister Mary is a lightweight. I think you can say that again. The all Bovril evening all. Shadow Chancellor Barden, as in Douglas, in this family, gave Reeves a right all rust into there. Pull up to the bumper, baby, as As Grace Jones once said, God, I nearly forgot the song there. Pull up to the bumper, baby. That's a song and a half. He gave Reeves a right old roasting today. Talk about a kick in the... yeah, she didn't feel it. She hasn't got one. Oh, she is a caring, understanding knight this time, without any shadow of a doubt, but I don't think she feels anything. I don't think she has any physical response on that level. Theo Bovril, Bovril, also says to Stuart, Sister Mary is not that much better at handling the gin either. That's very funny, Theo Bovril. I think you've got Sister Mary's level, which is not a watermark for sure. Des says, Des Ashton, to give you your full moniker, young sir. Evening all, looking forward to a thoughtful and reasoned right-raving rant bollocks about the complete and utter shambles displayed in our Parliament today. What a bunch of clowns. I'm with you, Des. I'm with you. I'm still trying to work out what that, what it was. I mean, I watched some of the news channels, BBC and Sky, never wrong for long. And I was just trying to work out what exactly is an emergency budget. But she didn't really do anything for an emergency. I mean, as we get into the layers tonight, you are going to have to stay for however long I do this live, because we're going to do it in layers. We're going to take it slowly, and I'm going to give you an understanding that no one else on YouTube is going to give you, because they ain't got the kahunas. But I have. I don't care. Well, what they're going to do to me? Cut me brake pipes, probably. Andrew Jones said, the Rev is reaching places and all sides. An Andover cafe now sells Battenberg slices. All Andover needs is willing tarts. I've heard that about Andover, Andrew. Oh, they're giving Battenberg out. But what about the altar wine? I have to say to you, there is a healing modality that I am a student of. It's called quantum touch. It's American, and during your kind of your first degree, they get you to take really cheap wine, and I've had to do this to the altar wine a couple of times. And basically, you're laying your hands on the altar wine, and you do what you do in quantum touch for the first degree, and it changes the wine from tasting like vinegar to tasting like, oh, I say, this is a rather nifty bottle of Plonk, old boy. So if you ever see quantum touch, or anybody saying, oh, let me get my hands on you, is it quantum touch? Yeah, well, do it to me wine first. But I must say, Battenberg is all the rage, especially on a Friday. I wonder why. Is it something they're going to do over the weekend? I have no idea. Thank you for the heads up, Andrew. Rusty Mouse, sound the trumpets for the Rev's entrance. I'm not showing you my entrance. I will do it slowly. Yes, art. Who's left theirs at home? Do not get your trombone out, because it'll get us all into trouble. Rusty Mouse. Les Griffiths, another round of YouTube censoring tonight? I presume so, Les, because I'm here on my own, and I've only got two hands. Stuart, oh, the old Bovril, she drinks on an empty stomach, that's why. Oh, of course, you have to have you've got to drink something or eat something to line your stomach, especially if you're going out on the lash. Do the youth know about going out on the lash nowadays? Do they know the etiquette of going out on the lash nowadays, where you need to have something to soak up the alcohol so that you don't upchuck it when you're on your way home, especially on the late night bus? Public transport, it's like the Star Wars bar at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. People just trying to get home. What was I going to say? Oh, yes, Andrew James says, oh, that's correct. The old Bovril says we should be saying Starmer's bit on the side. The old Bovril, you can say that, but I can't possibly comment. Reeves, for I'm sure they are getting it on. Well, they're probably just looking at spreadsheets. I mean, for some people, that's a real naughty night, spreadsheets. Did you see how Starmer mollycoddled her whilst sat beside him? I got the... I mean, what's that? There's no compassion, empathy for another politician. It was just... It was almost like he was patting a dog, or he just found a turd in the street going, oh, should I pick that up? Not that I am likening Rachel from accounts to a turd, you understand. Andrew James at Stuart, is it true your dad is going to sing for us tonight? If so, what is on the set list? Hang on, James, or is it Dave Stewart? Who's another Stewart? There's some fantastic Stewarts. Al Stewart, Year of the Cat. That's a bloody good song. Stuart says, Andrew, yes, Stuart at Andrew, yes, that's true. He's going to sing some Taylor Swift for the Rev. And look, I'll get the bouncers to chuck you two out for causing trouble. No, we're not having any of that technical term that we use in radio. We're not having any of that shite mentioned in the body of the cook. This is a sacred and holy place. No Ed Sheeran either, before you start your wronging. Hang on, where's the old Ah, good, she's not fallen pregnant yet then. Well, you know what he uses for contraception, don't you? Mom, my motorway. Sorry, a bit of a cough. Oh, touch your toes, Rach. Honestly, I've just had about 100 gags go through my head and I couldn't tell you a single one. Hang on a second. Right, Paulie Galtieri. Good evening, Adrian. You utter wrong. I hope you're well. All the better for knowing you're in the body of the Kirk this evening, Paulie, because, you know, it might be just a YouTube live, but it's only enhanced by the company. So good to see you in there, Paulie. Penny Hen. Good evening, everyone. Penny Hen, welcome back to the body of the Kirk. Nikki Watson, evening, Adrian, and the rest of the wrong'uns. And Brit 2014, sorry, Nikki, I'm losing my manners, forgetting my manners. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Brit 2014, good evening, everyone. Welcome, Brit. Sandra Wytham, hi from your favourite Blades fan. Sandra, you're the only Blades fan that I know, and to be fair, because you're sitting up there probably getting automatic promotion this season, I struggle. Oh, dear. I mean, they're talking about some of our players, Chris Rigg and Joe Bellingham. Chris Rigg, seemingly Spurs want to sign him for 50 million. Oh, here, lads. And Manchester United are in it, as are Chelsea. That right there is his bloody agent building it up so Sunderland go, oh, I say, are we going to make 50 million from a wrong'un that we're only paying 1,500 quid a week? He's come straight out of the academy, 1,500 quid a week. No wonder he wants to go to the Premiership. Elizabeth Casey, evening, everyone. Welcome, Elizabeth. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. I'm going to say, that's very funny, Stuart. Star the Tapper. I've got to go back up. I don't know, people are throwing kisses at each other. What I say? I thought it was not a Catholic church. Karina Jane, hi, Adrian and all. Welcome, Karina. What the bloody hell is that? Oh, we're on tea, are we? Are we on hibiscus? Another wonder I need my Jaeger bomb. I see you. Hi, everyone. I see you. I see you. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Les Griffiths, ever thought of moving to Rumble, Adrian? I'm already on there, but I was literally, we were putting some of the live, some of the videos up on Rumble, and it was getting like 2 views. And I just thought, look, my time is worth more than that. And because I'm not earning anything from, or rather being paid to do these lives, I've only got so many hours in the day. But yes, I have, Les, and I think it is called Theatre of the Mind. We did something about 18 months ago, stuck it up there, and I think there's only what's his face, Russell Grant, that makes any money from that. Because I mean, I hope one day to be able to make this like a full-time job. Because I speak to my friends in radio, or that were in radio, they're not anymore. And I said to them, anything going in radio? And they were, no, they're shutting all the radio stations down. Well, they're shutting them down and networking them. They're networking them out of London. So heritage stations are going, by the by, BBC stations, exactly the same. I do believe that the BBC stations will go to regional programmes first. They won't go national because they've already got national radio stations, but I can't see the BBC in its present form lasting much longer. Peter Sadler says, Prince Harry's dad, my bet is James Stewart. Oh, Peter, no, you're completely wide of the mark. Oh, I'm going to name. I am going to name. I think that poor James, who might have had a small dalliance, I've not seen the pictures, but I understand. And it's not James Hewitt. No, someone else that you've missed. And I'm going to tell you tonight, as far as I'm concerned, it's in my view. It's speculation. I can't give you anything factual. But the Daily Mail today. So the stuff going on, which we will talk about with Geopolitics, and technical term, evidently, and around his charity, Centre Bali in Africa, in Lesotho, and so the Sun did a bit on it, a little column inch, because that's the size of it, I understand. Daily Mirror obviously don't like the Royals, so they just did a little bit in the Daily Mail in the Eden Confidential. Oh, I say, what else? I'm going to give you the detail in there, because you may not have read it today. For those that have read it, be gentle. Don't spoil me fun. So thank you, Peter. Welcome to the Body of the Kirk. Manda Sky, evening, Adrian and chat. Welcome, Manda. And Les Griffiths has said, has that head teacher still banned Easter? I mean, the poor Christ, he gave it his all. He came into Jerusalem on donkey, and was like, Judas did the work of God, and fulfilled the destiny of God. So they reckon it's God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Now, the Holy Spirit is probably Jaeger bomb that God the Father keeps secreted about heaven so that Jesus, the Christ, doesn't get too squiffy. But I've always wondered, do you think when the nights draw in, because we're going to go spring forward this weekend, aren't we? 2:00 in the morning of Mother's Day. Do you think when the nights draw in and it gets cold, God the Father says to God the Son, here, Jesus, go and get Daddy's slippers for me, will you? Because God the Spirit, well, he's not going to be anywhere, is he? And those pesky Catholics who try to get rid of the Spirit because, well, they can't have us believing, can they? So Ian McGee, hey, welcome to the Body of the Kirk, Ian. Angry kid, Ginger, is Harry's dad. Oh, I say. Or Archie's, one of the two. I think, well, aren't they using different children? Are they just like hiring little models with a little touch of the ginge? Because seemingly Archie's hair colour's changed. And I know that happens, but we've never actually seen Archie's fizzog and his very deep, dark, auburn ginger hair is not like Harry's, which is just bright ginger. Fanta pubes. Sorry, did I say that out loud? You didn't see my lips move. I better take a drink or something to get me out of trouble. That's funny. Kaz, that's funny. Diana was only unfaithful twice, once with James Hewitt and once with the Household Cavalry. And certain English rugby players. I do remember that the rugby player's wife came out all full of piss and vinegar saying, oh, she's broken up my bloody marriage, man. Obviously, she has quite a deep voice. Yes, I agree. Ian Stewart says, Sister Mary, she's still slurring her words. Should stick to the altar wine. Hang on, Pop-Eyed Wasser, breaking. What you done now, Pop-Eyed Wasser? Come on, spit it out, so to speak. Reverend, what are you insinuating? Nicky Watson, thank you, Lauren Taylor, Argyle, Nicky Watson. Hang on, what are you talking wool now? Les Griffiths, did Harry resign from the charity or was he sacked? Well, Les, we're going to get to that. Because, well, you know how things work in the royal household. Not that he's in the royal household, but he is like a blood prince. And they just kind of go, oh, no. Walked backwards into obscurity. Wasn't very happy and came out, not out, just came out in support of the other trustees of the charity. And you think, hang on a second, so he's last out the door. But we will get to somebody who looks remarkably like young Harold. Hang on. Sister Mary's back from the chippy. She started to sober up. Well, she had chips and cheese. Salisbury is the place for silent discos. Seemingly, Andrew. Well, roller discos and expensive pubs. Are they charging a tenner a pint? Oh, that's what I was going to talk to you about. Hang on a second. Just going to write this down, otherwise I'll forget it. I forgot to have a look at it. There's some reportage around. So Witherspoons seemingly have bought this lighthouse in the middle of the sea somewhere. I know. So I looked at this thing in the middle of the sea and thought, why has Witherspoons bought that? I mean, I know, cheap, but so seemingly what they're doing is there's a Witherspoon. Well, there's a lighthouse, but not like one of those stone lighthouses. It's kind of it's metal, and Witherspoons have bought it, and they want to do it out like a Witherspoons pub. And I thought, how are they going to do that? Is it just for sailors or rum, bum and backy? Is it, how are they going to do that? Well, seemingly, they're going to put on a boat. They're going to put on like a big boat. And people have to get on this big boat at 10:30 in the morning. And then the ferry doesn't return until about 6 o'clock in the evening. Or is it 8 o'clock? So seemingly, if you want to go out on the lash, and you can't go anywhere, I mean, at least it won't be as far to the toilets in the Spoons as it would be at this lighthouse, because it's, it's not big enough to take a 20-minute walk to the bogs in Witherspoons. So I just wanted to let you know, just in case you need another watering hole. It is a hole, it is in water, and they're going to sell beer and cheap food. I'm just wondering, is it so that the pensioners can stay warm during the day and have some cheap beer and cheap food? Who knows? But they are genuinely doing up this metal lighthouse in the middle of I think it's in the North Sea somewhere, but it's international waters. So you can go out there and you can buy all kinds of crazy stuff like your tabs and your beer and your wine, and it's cheap because it's got no VAT because it's in international waters. I mean, I'll wait and see whether it works out, but it's going to be fantastic, I would say, in international waters. They did that. Somebody did that off the coast of the northeast, didn't they? They used to anchor. Weigh anchor. Excuse me. Can you say that again? I didn't quite catch what you were saying. You're wrong. Yeah, we're weighing anchor, and so people used to go out in the boats, because it's like 4 or 5 miles, however far out the international waters were. It's just the other side of the line in the water, evidently. And they just used to buy all their beer and all their cigarettes, their fags, their tabs, whatever you want to call them. So it's right. Let's get to the bottom of there. Really, Alan says Spoons very, very cheap. I know, bloody a cup of coffee like £2, and you think, a pint, £3 odd. How does that work? I mean, I got off the train once at King's Cross, and there's a pub in the back of there, and I was thinking, I just need a quick toilet, decompress, and I'll have a pint. Nearly £11 for a pint of Guinness. At least Dick Turpin wore a bloody mask. Burlington Bertie wouldn't want to walk up that many steps for a slash of Witherspoons. I think it's all going to be on the level, so to speak. Turjerker, great idea. Or is that tier? Have you missed the A out? Seaman Staines, frigging in the rigging. It will be. It'll be fantastic. And Nuki Brown, spoons, tea and coffee, free refills. Were they? Fantastic. I was only in there a couple of days ago with one of my buddies, and let me write this down because I would have forgotten it. So thank you to was it Carol and Stuart and Yo Bovril and Karina and everyone else that was very generous on the live on Sunday. Thank you very much for all of that and supporting the channel. Now, I made a prediction last week. Before we get into it, I am going to talk about the Royals, going to talk about America. Oi, 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 oi. I've worked something out, and I'm going to give you the evidence, my lord. And I'm going to tell you that not only is America bankrupt, but you've got to watch out for those bankers. Yeah, the merchant bankers. Oi, oi, oi. So we're going to talk about America. I'm going to give you some insight. Reeves and Starmer. God, they sound like a law firm. Going to talk about the parents of Sarah Everard. You know, the young lady that was murdered by Wayne Couzens. They've started off a charity today, so I just want to talk about that. And Starmer, he said today, now he's obviously in the Westminster bubble, doesn't quite grasp that we're not stupid. He thinks we're all dim. But today he stood up and he went, right, Mr. Speaker, I've had meetings today, and yeah, I'm going to have more meetings today when I'm finished this Monarchy, and then I'm going to. I remember the choir boys, Andrew. Yeah, and well, tomorrow I'm off to see President Macron, and I was like, oi, 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 oi. I know Rachel from accounts is on in half an hour, but what you doing, man? 2-tier, free gear, queer as folk, Starmer. What are you doing? Why are you telling us that you're off to see your best friend forever? Is that what it stands for? Or is it, don't say it, Adrian. Don't say it. Well, one of them's going to be picking the soap up. And seemingly he's going over to see his mate. He's across there like once a month. Can you ask him for the 500 million back? Because we've wasted that. It would help Rachel with a big black hole. Maybe she's had her hair dyed. Silver Surfer. I lived in a lighthouse in Malta in 1956 with my grandfather. Now, I was in Malta. I was in Valletta, beginning of February, and Malta's beautiful. It was temperate. It wasn't hot, wasn't cold. It's kind of Goldilocks, but Malta was beautiful. Where was the lighthouse? Which bit of the island was it off? Which one of the two islands was it off? Very curious. Alan, Coalition of the Willies, brilliant. So yes, he's off tomorrow to go and see his mate Emil. Where's yours, band? 2-tier, free gear. Wanky Tapper Starmer Stewart. Well, I say you've been on the autobahn, you're wrong. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Black Sea and Crimea, because I've been banging on about this for easily a year. I've been banging on about peace in the Black Sea, and what do we find? Oh, America and Putin have agreed a ceasefire in the Black Sea. Fan my brow. What on earth have they agreed that for? Let's hold that thought for half an hour. We know why. Putin wins, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's talk about. I was talking about spoons. Let's talk about the civil servants. I also made a prediction last week, and I'm only sort of saying this just to get you into the body of the Kirk and a little bit of Battenberg and Ottawa, just to get you calmed down, because life is busy. Like, there's lots of things going on. Just wanted to get you into the body of the Kirk. But I will say this. What was I going to say? Yes. Les asked me a question earlier. Has this teacher still banned Easter? Well, do you know something? I was doing a bit of shopping, as you do, kind of take your brain out of gear and walk around a supermarket. And I walked around a supermarket and I thought, do you know, there's not a single chocolate egg with the word Easter on it. And I thought, do you know, why aren't they calling them Easter eggs? Because they're Easter eggs. They're being called chocolate eggs now. Is that because they feel that some of the other communities, and I'm not talking about the obvious one that you think I'm talking about, some of the other communities won't buy Easter eggs because they don't respect Easter? Maybe they just want to, fatties that free and queer gear, Paulie. Maybe they just want to get as many people buying their chocolate eggs as is possible. Well, I'm now boycotting them. In the words of the great Chinese philosopher, fuck them. I'm just boycotting them now. I'm not going to buy one. If it hasn't got Easter on it, then it's not targeting me. Because you see this fizzog here? It's Christian, it's ginger, it's from England, and my lineage and my heritage goes back to at least 600 AD, because we've tracked it on my mother's side. And on my dad's side, down to about 900 and odd. I think Athelstan was king at the time. King of the Angles. And I just thought, what are we going to do about hot cross buns? Because you can't really take the cross off, can you? Because then they wouldn't A, be hot, and B, they'd still be buns. But what we're going to do with hot cross buns? We've got this teacher saying, oh, well, you know, for diversity. You see, me Tourette's, I can feel me Tourette's rising in. And hang on a second. Andrew James, they are not called hot cross buns now. What they called them? Consternation cross buns? Or, sorry, hot consternation buns? Or X buns? X buns? That's what Elon Musk does to his current paramour. Imagine if YouTube allowed people to put pictures in their comments. It'd be fantastic, I see you. It would be fantastic. Imagine. I'd be able to see you all at home doing what you're doing. And you'd get arrested for that. Hot X buns? I mean, it's not an X. It's a cross. Because they do say that the Romans crucified the ne'er-do-wells, the wrong uns. They would crucify them on an X, not on a cross. But it's just like the Catholic Church. It's like the Catholic Church nicked the Torah from the Jews. How does that work? So the Old Testament will call the Old Testament when actually some of that is the Torah. Appropriating for their own benefit, I presume. Mohammed muffins. Paulie. North Star buns. Yeah, we could have them, Peter. But what do we do? So Easter eggs are no longer Easter eggs. They're just eggs. But chocolate ones. And I understand that they're using different additives and different, additives is not the ingredients, we'll call it ingredients. They're doing that to the Easter eggs. I mean, that's brilliant, Rusty Mouse. Hot, no cross buns. Bonnie Blue is bringing her own Triple X buns out this year. Plenty of nailing happening. Brilliant, Bertie. But does she? What does she do about the currants? Do they get in the way? Les Griffiths. Hot cross buns are yucky. I would rather lick snot off a thistle. Oh, Les, man, don't be like that. Hot cross buns are brilliant. I could eat them all year round. I shouldn't really say that because I'll be giving supermarkets ideas. I mean, there's loads of stuff that's all year round. I mean, we've now got sort of Eastern Bloc speciality aisles in supermarkets. We've now got, well, if you're diabetic and you're close to death, then come here and buy this because it won't make any difference. It'll just make you feel wretched. Stuart, the only time I like my eggs is at Easter. I've got Les Griffiths with licking snot above your comment, Stuart. We don't have snot eggs here. It's pagan, darling, pagan. Terry Wookfit, Romans crucified on a T-shaped crucifix. You carried the crossbar to a site of execution. You got nailed, then you got strung up. And then just to make sure that you were dead, they stuck a spear in your side. According to John Wayne, anyway. Sam says they changed the Easter holidays to accommodate for something else. Did they, Sam? Disaster area. You can't miss gender, a gingerbread man. Well, they're not going to sell a gingerbread woman because it would have extras on it, and they would charge you more for it. So I'm happy to have a gingerbread man. I always bite his head off first. Bless. Tom Harley's hot cross buns with lots of butter. See, I can tell it's that time of night where either you've just had dinner or you're about to have dinner, and I've got you salivating. Anyway, so yes, Easter eggs are not Easter eggs unless they've got the word Easter on them. I mean, when I was at school, I would paint a hard-boiled egg. Bless. Food, ginger growler bread, brilliant, Alan. And Terry Rookfit says, normally they didn't need to stick a spear in the side. They broke your legs to remove support. This, in turn, caused you to slowly asphyxiate as you couldn't breathe properly. And also, it would... thank you, Theo Bovril. £2 in the swear box, just to start things off. I know, I started early. Thank you, Theo Bovril. But what they used to do was they would break your ankles, the Romans, that is. They would break your ankles so you had no support, and your chest cavity would give you a heart attack. It would like compress around your heart. So it was... hang on. Sam says, yeah, the school holidays for Eid. Have they? Have they changed our holidays for Eid, but not for Easter? No, I mean, they are literally taking the proverbial out of us. And it's not going to be... In fact, hang on a second. I've got a good half dozen questions that I want to ask you tonight. And what was the one? I thought I'd asked a... yeah, right. It's 1 for yes, 2 for no, normally, but this time it's words. So I want to ask you. Oh, Les, really? Is that in the New Testament? Christ was speared. Well, actually, he wasn't the Christ speared. He was Jesus of Nazareth. He wasn't the Christ until he rose from the dead. So Jesus of Nazareth was speared in order to fulfill a prophecy which stated his legs would not be broken. I mean, can you imagine? But it's the greatest story ever told with John Wayne, and he was the Roman centurion that speared him in the side. Brilliant. Hampshire is woke and bankrupt. Really, Andrew James? Adam Whale. Easter does seem very late this year. I think, isn't it 4 new moons in between Christmas and then that's how they get the date. It's something to do with the moon. Des Ashton, they only broke your legs if they liked you. Right, so yeah, free Brian. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. So I'm going to ask you one question. Listen up. Net zero or war? Which one would you choose? Because that appears to be the narrative. Net zero or war? Karina James loves mini eggs. I love Cadbury's cream eggs. Manda, you can't have neither because we're getting one and or both, possibly, because I'm about to tell you something. I'm going to reveal something to you. Stuart Tarbert, war with who? Well, you know, war with who? Because the French are going into Ukraine. Net zero, says Sandra. Terry Wookfit, war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. War. Edwin Starr, what a boy. Yeah, really mixed. Really mixed. So everybody's going for war. I think we've got more chance with war and it's cheaper. Des Ashton, 69. Entente cordiale, Des. Paulie Galtieri, both have the same outcome. We're fucked either way. I concur. It's all right. I've got some money in the swear box from the old Bovril. So net zero or war? Echoes, bunny woman. Good to see you in the body of the Kirk again. Lauren Taylor, Hobson's choice, i.e. no bloody choice. Derek Tomlinson, war, as I am a private military contractor. Oh, I say, Derek, making lots of the old greenbacks. It's interesting. I think more people are going, good evening, Rev. Good evening, Rev, from Mad Matt UK. Mad Matt, welcome to the body of the Kirk again. Good to see you. I think most people would take a chance on war than bloody net zero. I mean, is it me, or do you concur that Ed Millipede, he just looks like somebody you want to smack in the mouth? Now, obviously, I'm not a man that rises to violence, and I would not condone that. Chris would go for net zero. It is a difficult one, because if you look at the narrative that we're getting from the politicians, and I'm now going to tell you something that I haven't made any notes for, but I am going to tell you that the French are getting some of their, what can we say, cadets battle ready. So I don't know whether they were conscripts. I think they were like cadets, but evidently this is France. So France may be one of the first into Ukraine to put the boots on the floor. Now, is that why, because nobody else will tell you this, because nobody else knows this, is that why Starmer is going to see Macron tomorrow to negotiate how many of our young men and women are going to have their boots on the ground. Yeah, I agree with you, Paulie. Foreign Legion? Oh, I say, Alan. No, they're French. They're definitely French. They're cadets, French cadets. I mean, do they, when they write home, do they send French letters? Burlington Bertie, we are winning the net zero competition. We just send tyre to India. Job done. That is the truth, Burlington Bertie. That is the truth. Because the Indians do like burning tyres, as does, what was, say, I couldn't crack that gag. If I'd been quicker of thought, this would have been a very clever joke. But because I'm Winnie Mandela, so the Indians and Winnie Mandela love burning a tyre, especially if it's Stumpy McKechnie. Do you know that name? Stumpy McKechnie was one of the there was a private football team connected with the Mandelas, and poor Stumpy got the thick end of the wedge, and he was taken away, beaten, petrol poured over him, tyre put around his neck, set on fire. I think Winnie is not upstairs in heaven. I think she's downstairs paying the price. You don't know that story. Awful. Back in the 80s, I think, or early 90s. Nicky Watson says they're sending out how to survive 72-hour emergency books all over the EU. But why? Because the Russians are not fighting them. The Russians have now got what they always wanted. And I said to you, this whole malarkey, because that's all it is. I mean, I know Ursula von der Leyen bitch wants us to go to war. She's not even been elected by anyone. She wants to go to war. But the Europeans want to go to war because it's money, moolah, greenbacks, poons, and that's how the politicians make money, by flooding the zone with aid for foreign countries and or wars. But all Putin wanted, he just wanted the gas and oil under the Black Sea via Crimea. He's had Crimea, or Russia's had Crimea, for 300 years. They were never going to give it up. But and I've said to you, and I do hope that, sometimes I kind of go on a bit about stuff. But you can remember me saying all of these things, because it's important that we help other people to get an understanding around what's going on. That's why the left, the communists, the Marxists, the socialists in America and in China and bits of Russia and Europe is a bit Marxist, socialist, communist. They don't want us to know what's going on. They just want us to do as we are told. Well, people on this channel, free thinkers, we don't do as we are told. We tell everybody else what the hell's going on, and we work it out as part of an adult conversation here, Wednesdays and Sundays. If it's the first time that you've come to the Theatre of the Mind, we just kind of look at something, we cut through the fog of war, and we get to the truth, while other people are just doing unnecessary frippery. Des Ashton says, echoes Bunny Woman, Project Fear. Exactly. Des Ashton says, saber rattling bullshit. I'm with you, Des. Garen Davis, lockdowns, 5 years. I mean, can you imagine? 5 years. It's it doesn't feel like 2 minutes, but 5 years since that clown was sitting in front of his situation desk in number 10 Downing Street. Next slide, please. And he was going, right, well, this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have parties at number 10 Downing Street while you are staying in your own house. And, sweating, if you've got kids, it's going to affect their mental health. We don't care. We don't care, because we're going to make millions out of this. Yeah, Big Pharma going to give us loads of money. Because, the government will buy lots of these jibber jabbers off the Big Pharma, and then we'll give it to kids who don't need it. And we'll give it to adults and kill them off with cancers. And then Michelle Moore was like, yeah, don't worry, man. I'm brilliant, me. I mean, look at the size of my bras. Yeah, give me the money. Well, we'll start a business off. Hubby, set up a business. And so we've got some paper trail, and then they'll give us 200 million to come up with some PPE. 5 years later, we still haven't got the 200 million back, or let alone the 30 million profit out of her. Where is she? she's still bobbing around. I'd heard that about her. Louise Sampson, I think that Robert Reeves is a witch. She's got the hair colour for it. What we're going to do, done. So please don't forget, clocks spring forward, fall back. They go forward an hour, so we get an hour's extra daylight at the end of the day, starting Sunday, Monday. So by the time we get to the lives, it's going to be light until about 7 o'clock. And then within 30 days, we'll be beyond 8 o'clock. I'll be starting this during daylight, going, bugger me. Sorry, Keir Starmer again. What am I going to do first? I've got so much I want to tell you tonight. And I made so many notes. Let's just knock Robert Reeves into the long grass, because I watched it all. I watched PMQs and thought, how fucking dull is this? Kemi not good enough. There's every chance that either Rupert Lowe or Nige is going to end up leading the Tories. So I don't know whether you believe there's going to be another new party, because the Nige is not really taking on what's going on the streets. He's just telling everybody, we're going to win, we're going to win, we're going to win in Lincolnshire, I think was the latest video he put up on social media. Hang on a second. So, Andy, because Lawrence has been charged, we can't talk about it. We can't. It's sub judice. Under the judge, we can't talk about it because he's being charged. But once the judiciary has determined that he's had a fair trial and they've come to some output, then we will talk about it. Challenging that he put up some posts on social media, because he should know better. He should know better. You've just got to allow the process of law take place. And that's what they were doing to Trump last year in the run-up to the presidential election. As Les said, there's only the Uni Party, or UNA Party. Stuart Turbot doesn't mean he's guilty either. I agree with you, Stuart. I'm not suggesting that he is. I'm suggesting that we need to allow the process of law to take place. Sub judice. A lot of YouTubers have fallen foul of that because, as I say, having worked in radio for 40 years, every time there's a general election or there's a local election of any kind, or someone... so we go into purdah in the media where we can't print anything unless you say, well, there's other political parties, and if someone is charged, normally the media will back off once somebody's been arrested, because then they know they've got that sort of buffer zone of arrest and charge. And that's just a kind of background. I'm not talking about a particular case. It's just a broad brushstroke. But for your safety and mine, please don't talk about an active case. Don't talk about an active case, because it can get you into a shit ton of trouble. In fact, I'll give you an looks like we're hopefully that's not we're lagging a bit tonight, and I've no idea why. Anyway, Terry, it's still an active case. You can't justify it by saying, yes, but it's still an active case. I mean, the way we are in this country, with the way that the government is and the judiciary, I mean, it's next week where, you know, if you fight in this country, you've got to be careful, because it's a two-tier justice system. So anybody that's a certain skin tone or a certain ethnic background or a certain sexuality, you're going to get preferential treatment from next week. And if we talked about this case, which is active, if we talked about it in any depth whatsoever, then they would nail our arse to the cross. Mind you, we might get a bun named after it in a few weeks. Alan says, Kaz said, turn the PS5 off. What time is it? I don't think, at least I'm sure, that there's nobody else in the house tonight, so I'm not quite sure why that did, but The Wi-Fi's been quite shit today. BT. Oh dear. Government are trying to cancel AA. Pop-eyed Wazza. Yeah, I know. They're not. They're trying to. What they did after Southport, and isn't it amazing how we were told we were far right, we were conspiracy theorists, we had to watch those two muppets, those two clowns, go and lay flowers. How very dare they? And it's amazing how, apart from one girl who got the name completely wrong, and then apologised for getting it wrong, the rest of it was correct. The details were correct. Pop-eyed Wazza, BT, bloody terrible. Terry Wookford, it's not two-tier, it's multi-tier. At the top are a certain religion, under them trans, then women in comfortable shoes, and then homosexuals. After that, it's women. And at the bottom is, I wouldn't even say white men, I'd say middle-aged white men, Terry, because we can see that the kids are not interested in this. They'd rather watch Love Island or celebrities on the front page being, call me some names so we don't have a relationship anymore. I mean, Jesus, I've told you about vaping, haven't I? VABBING. Google it. I'm not going to say it again, but if you didn't, Andrew James the Rev is playing GTA. Grand Theft Auto. Miami. Did fancy that. Les says, and this is correct, not far right, right so far. And there's nothing that I'm very happy to have people call me a conspiracy theorist, because the conspiracy theorist, if it was a cricket match, we'd be like 1,000 not out. I mean, if you look at JFK, we got that one right. If we got the shooting of Martin Luther King Jr., we got that one right. We didn't get his shagging and orgies and stuff. And then Robert Kennedy Jr., we got that one right. Oh, Man on the Moon, we got that one right. I mean, how many do you want me to name? We got them all right, me and you. Gen Z, oh my God, says Des. Exactly that. Kids are frogs in the pan. Got to agree with you. Grand Theft Auto, there's a childhood memory for me. Stuart. Garen Davis, explore under the pyramids. Oh, Garen, should we do that? Where is my because tonight, if I get time, I'd like to write the king a letter with your help. No, where is it, man? I probably haven't printed it off for my notes. Let me just see if I've got it in this. No. Because I don't have the names of the teams that are that have been doing the SAR kind of LiDAR stuff. But let me tell you, so I was out on the Giza Plateau about 18 months ago, 2 years now. I was on the Giza Plateau, and I was there with the new Mrs. Allen and proposed to her in front of the pyramids. Well, that was the second time. The first time was on national TV in the Cairo Museum. Another long story which I won't get to. But what I will say is we hired a couple of guides, and the first guide, who kind of screwed it up, I told him specifically that I wanted to go into the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. Now, they've not done this radar stuff under the Great Pyramid. They've done it under the Middle Pyramid, which is the Khafre Pyramid. And so we're walking around with the guides. And I kept saying to him, what's under there? And he went, oh, no, nothing. I said, I can see it from your hotel. We have the hotel that overlooks the pyramids and the Sphinx. And I said to him, look, I can see there's entrances to, it's kind of the stonemason's lodge under there. There's nothing there. It's just, it's where they would sleep and eat and rest after working on the pyramids. I was like, you sure? Because the fissures around the Sphinx, they're saying, oh, this was submerged underwater. And I said to him, all right, then there's now under there. Les Griffiths says, one man's conspiracy theorist is another man's critical thinker. Pop-eyed Wazza, no, we are the frogs in cold water turned up to boiling point. I know. So let's just, so we had a couple of weeks in Egypt. We did Cairo, we did the pyramids, we did a Dahabia down the Nile. We went to loads of other temples, and after a while you kind of get templed out. But on the Giza Plateau, every guide that we had, I was saying to them, what's under there? And he's like, well, there's nothing. So we walked around the whole of the Khafre pyramid. And I do have some pictures of the Great Pyramid, the Grand Gallery, me kind of, gurning to the camera with the Grand Gallery behind me. And then to get into the King's Chamber, it's kind of like they've cut out, because it was self-contained, they've had to take out one of the granite blocks for you to kind of get on your knees, not a first in my life, and get in there. And when you get in, the energy within the King's Chamber is really weird. Have you ever been in a room that has soundproofing? Well, the King's Chamber feels just like that. It is granite. And there's so being a Reiki master, I'm used to working with energy. So I was trying to, Terry, thank you. It's Corrado Malanga, Armando May, Filippo Biondi, and Nicole Cicciolo. I think Nicole Cicciolo has a YouTube channel. I found it the other day, so I'm waiting for them to, basically what the team have done is they are going to, because it's in Italian, I think, so they're going to translate and put it out onto the net again. So the temple complex, we'll talk about the King's Chamber first. So when you initially go into, if you go to the Great Pyramid, first thing, 9:30, as the doors open, you can get in there before the Japanese turn up with the cameras. So literally there was just the two of us in the King's Chamber. And as we got in there, it just feels like you're in a cocoon, and it felt soundproofed. So I was kind of pinging a bit of energy around, and just seeing what was what, trying to put. I'm watching the channel, and it's not sharp at all. I do apologise for that, and I do hope that it's not lagging too far behind. I'm not quite sure what is going on. So I was trying to put some energy into varying blocks in there, and you can see that there's because it's quite dark, and there's only a couple of lights around the what they're saying is the almost an ossuary. They're saying that the like coffin of sort is obviously it was a it wasn't Tutankhamun, but it was one of the other greats, but it's all made up. And Zahi, I can't remember his second name, the kind of antiquities guy from Egypt, he's going, no, there's nothing under there. No, there's nothing under the Sphinx. No, you're all just making it up. And anyway, we didn't give you permission to do that. And somebody said, they didn't need permission. They did it from bloody satellites in space, man. They used radar. And they've all got their knickers in a bunch, the Egyptians, because they're very unhappy. They can't control it now. And you've got all of these great historians, Graham Hancock and the like. And I mean, Graham has actually climbed the Great Pyramid for one of his books. Les Griffiths says the pyramids were not tombs. Tombs were lavishly decorated and full of artifacts. The Great Pyramids weren't. So Les, we went up to the Valley of the Kings. We did a a balloon flight over the Valley of the Kings, which was just breathtaking. But then we went into loads. We had time in Tutankhamun's tomb. Tutankhamun is there, lying in rest, and we were. I mean, it was just timing. But we went all the way down into Tutankhamun's tomb, stood with him, and you are right. I think it was Ramses the Third. There's a huge long walkway that it's highly decorated, and you get down the bottom, and you just think this is fit for a king, fit for a ruler. Super Ted says, me and our lass went on a cruise along the Nile, and we had a cabin next to Michael Howard. Nice bloke. Michael Howard, the actor, really intelligent guy. Am I thinking of the same one, Super Ted? Tom Harney says, looks like a bit like that underground power station from the movie Forbidden Planet. Yeah, sorry, Karina Jane. I don't know why it's blurring. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in the house. There shouldn't be. And interesting. Super Ted, leader of the Torts. In the field. God blimey. Evening all. A little late coming in this evening, but feels good. So having been in the King's Chamber, having been to the, I nearly got into a bit of a fight with one of the Egyptians, because the new Mrs. Allen kind of climbed up on some of the stones without me seeing, and he appeared from nowhere like Mr. Ben. Oi, 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 oi. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, oh, get her down. I said, she's a free and independent, free thinking woman. She can do whatever she wants. And he's like, no. So who, Alan says, Starship ready for launch 3,000 years later. Les Griffiths says, the pyramids predated pharaonic Egypt. They tried to emulate them with mud bricks, which are still visible today, but they collapsed. Yeah, you see what Egypt has, they have a huge tourist trade, and what they're scared of is losing that tourist trade. But what this radar survey has done is not only has it refocused our attention on Egypt, but it's saying that there are things that we don't know about, which I think can only benefit Egypt. But Egypt doesn't really want to benefit other than the tourist money, dollar, pound, whatever. I know that when we were there, there was the begging in Egypt is kind of off the scale, and you almost have to be aggressive with them. I mean, I had kids coming up to me, just that's international sign for give me some food. I had they're all at it, basically. They're all at it. So Great Pyramid, King's Chamber, if you ever get the opportunity, please try and go and experience it, because it's wonderful. Khafre, you can, so the three, we walked around all of them, and there's sort of fissures in I think the northern face of two of them, the smaller one and the one in the middle. But nobody knows what it is. Nobody can, with any certainty, say this is this, this is this, this is this. So now that this radar has been pinged around, and they're talking about nearly 2 miles down, so we don't know. Popeye Wazza says, Garen Davis, no need for gas and oil, not in Egypt. Popeye Wazza says they are probably clay with grinded rock bits thrown in and made up bit by bit. Only logical answer I can think of to Andrew. And Les Griffith says there's no mention of the Great Pyramids in the Bible, but plenty about making mud bricks for buildings and tombs. Terry says the Egyptian tourist trade is still feeling the effects of Zahi Hawass. He gave scripts for the tour guide to follow and no discussion of anything he hadn't placed on the script. So the guide that was showing us around, and I was just asking him, like, first time I'd been there, and I was asking him really honest, straight questions, and he just wasn't I mean, they're so poor in Egypt that getting qualifications as a guide, it's a big deal for them, and they don't want to. I thought Zahi Hawass had retired. Right, I'm going to ask you a question. 1 for yes, 2 for no. I'm going to ask you this question. Do you believe the history as is being told to us by the Egyptians around the pyramids and others? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you believe the history as is being told to us, maybe by the tourist guides or maybe by the Egyptian nation, but either way, do you believe the history that we are being told? Yes, cynical old tarts. Andrew James, God no, everybody's just going, Super Ted, stop that. Everybody's going, no, no, no. Sierra Alpha, Alpha, Bravo. Saab. Popeye Wazza, never been convinced. I love the fact that you're a cynical old tart and coming here for a bit of cynicism on a Wednesday and a Sunday. They can only pass on what they've been told to repeat. I agree with you. I mean, we went to the Cairo Museum and we literally we were in there for less than an hour because I proposed to the new Mrs. Allen. We were barely in there an hour. I was on national TV going, "Oh, will you marry me? Don't say no. I'm on the telly." And we didn't see all the things that you could see. Now that they've built a new museum which has got thousands of Tutankhamun artifacts. So they want the tourist dollar going in. They want the tourism. Oh, hang on, Alan. Chat log has stopped. What is going on tonight? Well, Rusty's Roamings asks a very pertinent question. Why would they lie about it? Maybe we're not ready. Yes, Stuart, she's now the current Mrs. Allen. And I agree, Andrew, they want you in the gift shop. They do. We didn't go in the gift shop in the Cairo Museum. That's a very good response, Burlington Birdie, to stop any grave robbing. So we went up to the Valley of the Kings and we it was blisteringly hot. We went up the Valley of the Kings and it gets really, really, really busy. But we were fortunate enough to be sort of at the front end of the day so that when we went into the tombs, there wasn't that many people around. We went into Tutankhamun's tomb, as I say, we were in there for over 12 minutes on our own, which was a wonderful gift. But you just have to, grease the palms of those Egyptians that are sitting there. Not that they're going to throw you out or anything, but, they just kind of make things easier. And, Kaz, their lips moved, yeah. Terry Wookfit says, just refresh if you are having problems with chat or the vid. Current rending is shite. I don't know why, Terry. I have no idea why. Des Ashton, because the puppet masters wishes them too. So I would, from your cynicism, and I'm exactly the same as you, I was there asking the tour guides, what's under there, and you can go, and there are some shafts that obviously they've had to sink because they don't want anything noxious down there coming up. Howard came to my special school. He fought tooth and nail to keep it open from central government. His wife is beautiful. Is that Trevor Howard, Andrew? Is that the MP rather than the showbiz guy? And the shafts that they sunk were deep. I mean, I couldn't see the bottom even with a torch. Alan says the Russians are interfering with our life. Oh, feck 'em. Les Griffiths, there's no Loch Ness monster. There isn't a viable food supply to support any such creatures. Michael Howard. That was the Tory minister, Michael Howard, wasn't it? But you so we spent a long time in the Sphinx Temple, which is right next to the Sphinx. We were lucky enough not to have a load of people around the Sphinx. But it's like, so you go to the Sphinx and you go, oh, yeah, I've seen that in the book, I've seen that in the magazine. I mean, yes, you're physically there with it, but you can't get to touch it. And I know that from one of the guys that was on Rogan, he talked about seeing, we know for sure that there are rooms and caverns and, well, maybe the lost Library of Alexandria under the Sphinx. There's a ton of stuff under the Sphinx, which they're not allowing anybody to get to see. Hang on, disaster area. Wow. Wow. The Ul Bovril. I've handled an Egyptian effigy made from alabaster, given to my friend's great great auntie by Howard Carter, their close friend. You know that what they used to do when they were embalming the Egyptians, they would take all the organs out and put them in alabaster jars. And I've seen the alabaster jars for Tutankhamun's organs, and I don't mean, piano organs, internal organs. That's what they used to do, just in case they needed them in the afterlife. So an alabaster jar, and they used to be made up. The alabaster jars were effigies of queens and pharaohs, and but I keep coming back to this. My take was, I just allowed the guide to guide us and just to tell us what he was going to tell us. But every now and again, I was just nudging him, saying, "Come on, what's under there? What's under there?" I saw the shaft. We went out. The first guide was on the Thursday. The Wednesday, we just went out onto the plateau and had a wander around just to get a sense of what was what. And I do believe we are on the cusp of something massive, because now there is a reasoning around the pyramids, and I only hope that they do radar surveys of the Great Pyramid and the Little Pyramid, Pyramid number 3, whatever it's called. But literally, you can walk. You can, at the base of the Khafre Pyramid, you can walk all 4 sides, all the way around it. And if you look at what is normally the view of the pyramids from sort of Cairo, which is back here, the Sphinx is just here, and then the pyramids are there. If you go beyond the other pyramids, what the Egyptians have done is they've created a viewing platform so that everybody can go and have their pictures taken with the pyramids in the background, which is obviously what we did. What's a can-pick chest, Terry? The riddle of the Sphinx. I believe there's stuff under there, and I've been quite up close and personal with it, and you can see that just behind the ear, on this side, on kind of the right hand side, as the Sphinx is facing. You can. Oh, hang on a second. I've got to. Hang on. What is it, Andrew? I've got some books about what's under the pyramids and what's under the Sphinx, and it was written about 20 or 30 years ago by. Oh, I'll dig it out and I'll tell you on Sunday. But we walked around it, and it doesn't. It just has a weird feel to it. It doesn't. I mean, obviously, it's humongous, and there are millions and millions and millions of tons of rock and stone. But as we walked round, I still thought there's something under here. And subsequently, like Graham Hancock and varying others have said that the fissures on the side of the platform where the Sphinx is, it's been running water for thousands of years. So if there's been running water for thousands of years, why would they create rooms and corridors and pathways under the Sphinx and or under the Great Pyramids? because the desert wasn't always desert. And literally where I know that the traditional pictures of the pyramids look like it's in a desert. Well, Cairo's not 100 yards behind. And when we were there, the guide was saying that what they're going to do is they're literally going to flatten all the hotels just in front of the plateau, and they're going to rebuild more, possibly more opulent hotels for the American dollar, the British pound, the euro, because they want the tourists to come in and spend big money. So they were going to flatten all of the hotels. The hotel that we were in was very Egyptian, but it was right in front of the pyramids. We literally sat down to dinner and breakfast and looked at the pyramids. And there's a light show of an evening, which is it's not great, to be fair. But it's one of those that, 50 years ago, they wouldn't have had that in Egypt, and maybe they're just sort of evolving it. But I am so happy for the Egyptians that this radar survey is being released. Terry Wookfit, new hotels for Gaza and migrants. The thing is, the Egyptians are poorer than... no, it wouldn't be... I believe they're going to go to the Sinai Peninsula. They're going to go to a buffer zone between Egypt and Israel. And then Gaza is just going to be, it's just going to be Beirut, as it once was the destiny in the Middle East. But they're also going to have oil, offshore oil industry in the gas and the oil. So I do believe that it's good for Egypt. Egypt might not think so at the moment, but there's Andrew Collins. That's the guy, Andrew Collins. You sometimes see him on Ancient Aliens. But Andrew Collins has written a couple of books. One is What's Under the Pyramids. Tina Barwick. I know, Tina. I don't know what's going on. My phone is... In fact, let me just... Right, you're wrong. There you go. Fixed it. So what is your take, Nigel Green? Oi, you're wrong. You're all pixelated. You've not got something out that you shouldn't, have you? It would take all the screen, Nigel. Matthew Whedon, that's better. Thank you very much. So I just want to... I wouldn't say that the whole of the congregation in the body of the Kirk are conspiracy theorists. I think that you just don't believe the usual BS that's promulgated. Hang on, Zelensky's making more announcements. So let's leave it at that, because there's some other stuff that I want to talk to you about. We've got a couple of things to make you go hum. You need to be aware of these. Where is it? That's that. Let's have a look at this. What's this? Yes. Shall we talk about Prince Harry? So, if you're not aware of this this particular story today, Prince Harry, the ginger one, he's resigned from Centre Bali, which is his charity that was set up in Lesotho, and it was set up in honour of Princess Diana 20 years ago. So he's quit the charity, citing unthinkable infighting. He stepped down in support of fellow trustees and the board. Centre Bali is an HIV and AIDS charity. And I thought, that's not... It doesn't feel like... It doesn't feel right. This feels like an emergency. This feels like somebody's sort of said to him, Harold, young chap, you need to back out. And why would he back out? Well, if you've read the Daily Mail today, you will know that in their Eden Confidential column, and the reason why I'm crediting this and the Daily Mail is because what I'm about to tell you is quite incendiary and quite contentious. So there's a man that is sometimes known as Prince Harry's second dad, and it's not James Stewart, which, if you think about it, that's a great cover story. Here, James, just there's a bit of just disappear. So he goes off, retires, ding dong. So he goes off, does a bit of reality TV, and then disappears. Oh, he's gone to Australia. Gone to Australia. No, he's not. He's in Devon with his mother. But this guy is a guy called Mark Dyer, and he looks more like Prince Harry than anybody else. So Mark Dyer has stepped back from centre Barley. Now, who's Mark Dyer? Rumoured to be Archie's godfather. Well, it's not a rumour. It is. He's Archie's godfather because he was named at the time in all the press. And Harry is godfather to Mark Dyer's eldest. And Mark Dyer was a Welsh Guards officer, and he helped to coordinate Harry's gap year. Don't need to go into too much detail around that, but he helped coordinate Harry's gap year. Now, why would he do that? He wasn't, Harry has servants, people, men, his team to do all that for him. He's a blood prince. He's a royal. Why would he have a Welsh Guards officer who's not part of his retinue sort all that with him? And to muddy the waters even more, Harry was an usher at Mark Dyer's 2012 wedding. He married an American girl, I think. So in 2012, he was an usher at Mark Dyer's wedding. So why would he be an usher at Mark Dyer's wedding? And the big question for me is, why is this coming out now? Because if you think about it, him and his missus have really brassed off the royal family. Like Spare and all the other stuff and Oprah and stuff. He's really brassed them all off. But why is it coming out now? Literally on the day it's announced that he's backed away from the charity that he loved and the country that he loved, and the other African prince from Lesotho that he loved setting the charity up with and for. And it was in honour of his mother. It's 20 years old, and the only quote. Mark Dyer was the personal protection equerry for the two young princes. He was a Special Forces trained officer placed to guide the two of them. Well, Terry, let's take a deeper dive with that then, because that was not mentioned anywhere else, anywhere. And we know that Diana had a penchant for protection officers. She had an affair with one of them, and he was told, on your bike, Bunny lad. I mean, without being too sensitive about it, Diana banged like a barn door in a storm. Once Charlie had, hair and a spare, he wanted to be off with Camilla. And that love of his life. We can't denigrate that. It's the love of his life. He's with her still, but he needed, because Camilla just went off and went, oh, here, Charlie, mate, get it sorted. Either propose or I'm off. I've got another proposition. So decide. Ooh, Camilla, ooh. And he didn't. So, the Duke of Edinburgh was tearing his hair out, the little bit that he had left. He was tearing his hair out about Charlie because he was like, oh, God. Les Griffiths, back in the day, the Highgrove Open was not a golf tournament. Oh, I say, Les. Oh, I'd love to talk more. Vixtex says medieval as fuck. What was... Hang on, Vixtex, what was that? The king? Oh, that sounds cold. Dare says, Masterpieces TV version of King Charles III, filmed in 2016, seemed like it is looking more fact than fiction. Well, so if he was an equerry or a protection officer, special forces, and he was in and amongst royal circles. Why today? Why 2025 has all of this come out? Because I've said to you before, I take an interest in the royal family because I love our history in this sceptred isle. But why is it coming out? And this is information that specialists like Terry and Des can come up with at a click of a button. But I was not aware of that. I am now, but I wasn't then. And I'm just going to ask your opinion. Oh, yes, Vix text. Marriage arrangements, wife, and a side piece or pieces. Well, should we not go into too much detail around the pegging furore? Because I also believe that, again, when the pegging story came out, if you haven't heard it, just Google it. It's probably been sanitized across the net. And I'm going to. Les says Charlie isn't a king. He shames England's ancient throne. Well, Les, I've written a letter. I'm going to read it out to you. Rusty's Roamings says just Googled him. Him and H are like two peas in a pod. Correct, Rusty's Roamings. So basically, what they've done is they've used James Stewart as a distraction. They know. That's why Charles always called Harold dear boy, darling boy. Never called him son. Called him darling boy. Paulie says sausage fingers as his dad. Look at the facial features all the royals share. I mean, there's a Duke of Kent that looks like the Russian Romanovs. I mean, scarily. And because they can't trust outsiders. I mean, look at Fergie and Diana and Meghan. Look at all the trouble that the royal family have had with interlopers into the family. So remember, Les Griffith says, remember the footage of the naked man climbing down bed sheets from an upstairs window at Buckingham Palace? I do, Les. I did see that, but I thought it was AI. Popeye Wazza says he's not king. The Stone of Destiny wasn't under the throne when crowned. Ooh, Popeye Wazza. That's a very because he returned it to Scotland, didn't he? Ginger Bollocks has the same nose as the Queen. What? Shriveled and hard as leather now. Terry Wookford. Easiest check is male pattern balding. Charles has it, William has it, and Harry has it. They're all inbred though, Terry. So the inbrededness of the royal family, this has gone on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. As I have said before, I'm a fan of Athelstan 926. His main bases were Hull and York, so where I'm from. Can you not remember there was a game of polo and Harry was playing, and like at half time they go on the pitch and they start banging in the sods, so to speak, technical term that we use in radio. So when you're banging in the sods, it's to help or to stop the horses breaking hooves and ankles and stuff. But like everybody goes on to the playing area and kind of flattens it all down. There was a guy there who was trying to get some hair. I think in the days when Harry had some, he was trying to get Harry's hair to do a DNA test. And the balloon went up. They went absolutely apoplectic. The royal family, the Royal Protection Squad, it was all over the press. I'm sure you'd be able to Google it now. The polo match where they tried to get a sample of Harry's hair, and this guy used some women to kind of scout around and see if they had anything, if they could get some kind of DNA to test Harry. Kaz says, you're right, Adrian, they're inbred, but Harry is the outsider. Alison says, yeah, Charlie boy, defo his dad. Same mannerisms, nose and eyes. Charlie boy, defo his dad. Oh, interesting, Alison. Alan says, DNA test will sort it. So you would imagine that the royal family would have a DNA test. And they would go, oh, here, you, the great unwashed, feck off, because he's Charles's boy. But poor Harry, if he's not. And maybe that's why they didn't. But what did Alan say? Yeah, DNA would sort it. Des Ashton. Yeah, Amalia, I hope you're feeling better. Good on you. You've made it in the first hour and a half. Wendy Bow Breaks. CSI Sandringham. Brilliant. Paulie Galtieri, Alison, exactly this. Harry Bollocks needs to be put to bed. Harry, Bollocks needs to be put to bed. Good to hear you feeling better, Amalia. It does get better with time. So just look after yourself. Hydrate well. Les Griffith says there was a mention of Charles obtaining a hair sample from Harry's hairbrush. I'm not sure Charles would have needed that. But there was this polo match, and it was news of the world. It was all over the press. I mean, it was a massive story, because I'm sure the royal family were afraid that somebody would get the DNA and it might not. I mean, there is another guy that Diana had an affair with, and I'm trying to think, it's not a lord, is it a viscount? And literally, Harry is his spitting double. Oh, it's a Duke of it's out Carlisle way, kind of just below Scotland. It's a Duke or a Viscount from that way, and he literally exactly that says the bowler that did it. Des Ashton, no expose until no more distraction needed. Of course, Des, of course. Every time that Meghan and Harry are wheeled out and they're in the press, they're obviously doing something. I mean, I don't know whether the King has gone over to Davos for another visit to the World Economic Forum, unless he's the head of the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab is just the puppet and Charles is the puppet master. Because it's all about bloodlines. Thank you, Stuart, as always. Right, Terry says this. You realise when a royal prince is born, they run all sorts of tests on them. Blood, DNA. It wouldn't be too hard to include in those tests. Agreed, Terry. I do believe William is Charles's, obviously. But Harry, he's just the spare. But let me tell you something that most people have missed with Meghan and Archie and the girl. And the reason why I refuse to mention her name is because my grandmother was called that, and I consider it to be a beautiful and sacred name, and it will not come out of my mouth in relation to any of the royal family or Diana. But so when a royal is giving birth, that's every royal that is giving birth, and that child goes into the line of succession, the royal family have somebody attend and observe the birth and almost guarantee that that child that woman has given birth to goes into the line of succession. They witness the birth. They witness the child being born. So even though it's archaic, and as someone, I think it was Vix Tex, said medieval, it's still the best way. Somebody representing you uses the papers and goes, yes, little girl, £5 5 ounces, blonde hair, blue eyes, because I understand that the little girl was ordered out of a catalogue. And Meghan went absolutely apeshit when she didn't get a blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girl. I'm on who said that. Paul Galtieri. Paul Burrell is a taker, not a giver. Maybe he's a donator to charity. So nobody has said regarding Harry and Meghan's children that they were witnessed by a representative of the Queen to observe and record the birth. That is not necessarily law, but the royals don't need laws. That is what will have happened with Diana and William and Diana and Harry. But Meghan will have had to have been observed twice giving birth to both of those kids. I mean, when she came out, and not out, when she came out, but I have heard that about her. She's a complex little soul. Jeremy Kyle needs to do a show on Harry and Charlie. Brilliant, Alan. Echo Bunny Woman, they no longer watch the birth. They are in an anteroom. Really? That's not what I heard. If the child is going into the line of succession, and Harry's children are, then it has to be. Well, yes, echoes Bunny Woman. What children? There is that. Maybe they're just, or they hire them, but they have to be sure that, and the only sure way is by having somebody say, "Yeah, she gave birth," and if she didn't, then they would go back to Charlie and Elizabeth and go, Your Majesty, no, didn't see anything. I was in an anteroom getting absolutely squiffy. So I want to, I wrote this in one of my quieter moments, and it's an open letter to King Charles III, and I've titled it The Spiritual Revival of a Nation. And there's a quote from Ephesians in the Bible, and it is, "Wake up, sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." Ephesians 5:14. Your Majesty, Britain is a Christian country, and you are a Christian king. If either of these fundamentals change, you will lose your throne. On this point, harbour no illusions. Omnis potestas e Deo. All authority comes from God. We are your servants, but you are God's. The authorities that exist have been established by God, for the one in authority is God's servant for your good. That's Romans chapter 13. Your authority is inextricably linked to your ability to deliver this good for your subjects. Not citizens, we are subjects of the crown. And you are waiving, Your Majesty. In your coronation oath, you swore to uphold your divine mandate, and I quote, "Will you, to the utmost of your power, maintain the laws of God and the true profession of the gospel? All this I promise to do." The things which I have here before promised, I will perform and keep. So help me God. Your Majesty, do not deceive yourself. There are secular politicians, spineless globalists, who attempt to portray themselves as value-neutral, universal friends, with as much in common with Pakistani Muslims as British Christians. This cannot be your way. This is not your calling, nor is it the purpose of a king. You are a living avatar of inequality, and particularly King of the United Kingdom and defender of the faith. Trite appeals to universalism, diversity, and cultural equality only serve to undermine your own position and our loyalty to you. You are a Christian king. Muslims have no use for you. They cannot and will not save you. For now, they use you for your fame and status, but they will discard you when they have the chance. The time has come for boldness. A king who does not lead and a king who does not protect is no king at all. The Christian king, as Christ himself, must be willing to sacrifice himself to atone for the sins of the nation. Your future depends on your subjects understanding you as the potential vessel for the return of our great Christian nation. This nation, this people, fades into history, but it is not dead yet. As long as the Christian king is alive, Britain lives, even if she sleeps. We remember her and see her in our dreams. Do not defile her. For better or for worse, your authority resides in the past, our collective past. You will not find new justifications for your authority in a different future. Clumsily mucking about with Islam takes you further from a secure future, not closer. You are trusting in instincts entirely constituted in a deranged age, and they are misleading you. But you lament. There is nothing else that can be done. If you act against the spirit of the age, surely you will be overthrown by worldly powers. Not so. As long as the sleepers live, you can return. This is the question which keeps you up at night. How do I keep the monarchy relevant and beloved? That we may survive. That's his only job. But the answer is simple. Save our country and you'll secure your family's reign for centuries. You will be beloved as no king has been for 500 years. Your first change must be to stop focusing on worldly affairs, turning Windsor Castle into a community centre, and return to spiritual leadership. Be bold, vocal, and wield all the splendour that your position affords you. Be unapologetic in your identity. The Christian king of Britain. You cannot create a physical army to take power. The state is too strong. You are too weak. You would fall. So create a spiritual vanguard which the state cannot destroy. Sound the horn of salvation. You must do this. There is great strife ahead of us. Experts are already warning of civil war. Only Christianity's return can temper this process and the violence that will surely come. Pax Christi in Regno Christi. The peace of Christ in the kingdom of Christ. One way or another, as unthinkable as it might seem in our present moment, the replacement of the English in England must be undone. It will be undone, one way or another. Mounting tensions cannot continue indefinitely. There is trouble on the horizon, Your Majesty. Only your hand can bring gentleness and sanity to this process. Sensing that something is deeply wrong, your people long for a change to the status quo. But the British are a tolerant and respectable people. So far, they have resisted a loutish response. Guide them, Your Majesty. Chart an alternate path to senseless brutality. Be a Christian king. Awaken the sleepers. We await you. We know. We know. Alan, who wrote this? I've just told you. I mean, I did think, sometimes I may come across as a bit of a Luddite, but I was thinking about starting a Substack because writing is right, verbally. But when I am a man that from the age of 9 and 10, I studied the good book. I don't bring it here because, that's my work. I claim it as my work. It will be my work forever. Amalia, will you send it? What? I'll end up in the tower. I wonder if it's an homage to his tampon fetish. Brilliant, Andrew. Because as I said at the end, we are a respectable and respectful nation. I mean, look at the challenges between the English and the Welsh and the Scots and the Irish. We all have a sense of self. We all have a sense of nation. And I do believe that we are all crying out for leadership, appropriate and proportionate leadership. And we are, for all the mongrel nation that we may be, because we've had a bit of Germanic, a bit of, Viking, a bit of, we kick the French's arse every 100 years or so, but we need to stand up to our full height and say, this is who we are, and this is who we are led by. If you look at Richard the Lionheart went all the way back in the 1100s, all the way over to Jerusalem and nearly starved Saladin out of Jerusalem. Richard the Lionheart, that's why he was called the Lionheart. And, forgive me, that's why I call His Majesty Charles the Weak. We can't be led by, so what's the old saying? An army of sheep led by a lion will always defeat an army of lions led by a sheep. And I believe that's where we are. That's where we are. Terry, you're wrong. I said the 1100s. You said it was late 12th century, so we're agreeing. Wrong. Melvin, interestingly, says they're all actors. But have you noticed that, and we'll get to some other stuff in just a moment. I'm going to ask you another couple of questions before we finish the live tonight. If you notice that even on YouTube and X and all the social media platforms, there's so much distraction on there. And even some of the big names, it's all in the, I know, Terry, it's all in the typing. What was I going to say? So I made predictions here a couple of weeks ago. I didn't predict civil war in reform, but I was questioning Nigel Farage. And I questioned it because you'll remember I said, who was shorting the NatWest stock? Nigel. I always give you something to remember my predictions by. I've predicted the Black Sea and the Russians needing the gas and oil out of there. I've predicted the Israeli-Gaza. It's not a war. It's just Israel recognized because they had, was it Shell or BP that did all the exploration in the East Mediterranean and under the Gaza Strip, and they found the gas and oil. So what's going on in, you may call it Palestine, I call it Gaza and the Gazans. What is going on there is perpetrated by the evil Bibi Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu is only staying as a war premier so that he doesn't end up in court, because the Israel people before October 7th were going to have young Bibi in court because they're not very happy with him. Andrew, thank you. I'll have a look at that. I mean, I'm aware of some people giving an opinion on the Charles painting. I do believe that those in positions of power, that includes the monarchies around Europe, and the political leaders, they're all, they don't care. Some of them are not even interested in the power. I mean, I know Sniffy is good with money, all the billions he's being given by, but it's a distraction. So the real things that need to happen are not happening because those leaders that we look up to, we genuinely look to them doing what they need to do for the greater good of the peoples of this sceptred isle. We are not, for one, citizens of this country. We are not, because there's a bloke sitting in London that's our king. And when you are subject of a king, you are subject to the crown. You are a subject to the monarchy. However thinly you want to slice it, we are not citizens, and we have not been since the 900s in perpetuity. We've never been citizens. But those evil, evil, evil clowns in Europe who couldn't run a bath, they want us to be part of the greater Europe so that they can get their fingers on the gold. I want to, let me just get this all correct, because I've got some, I'll very quickly run through things to make you go, because there's another pyramid being found, this time in the Judean desert. And also, hopefully, yes, that should be it. Yeah, I am going to give you a take on America that's going to blow your cap off. Because I believe America has worked out where the corruption is. And you've actually, the reason why I told you about the distractions is because I believe that a lot of the communications between the very powerful is actually done on the groove tube. It's done in social media, and it's now done on TV, in the news bulletins. And I do believe that Elon and President Trump were mousing the powerful, the Democrats, the political elite in America. And I'm going to tell you how. I'm going to tell you how I know. I'm going to tell you what I've worked out. And we're going to have a deep dive into America. Why is it bankrupt? In fact, we'll do it now. I'll do the things that make you go hum in a second. So this is how the American system works. It's different to the system here, but it's similar in many ways. Let me explain. The government, the American government, borrows money from a private corporation. It's called the Fed for short. And what then happens is the repayment of that money that they've borrowed is taken from the taxes of the American citizens. So in essence, I say to you, I'll say to Donald Trump, Donald, right, the Fed will loan you $30 trillion, but will loan you it at 2%. And Donald goes, yeah, all right then. So the banks, or the Fed, which is a private company, it's not part of the government. So the Fed goes, brilliant. Lads, beers are on me. We've just made 2% of $30 trillion from the government. They've got to pay it on the drip, obviously. But why would the American government borrow money and pay fees on it when, in reality, it has the authority to make the money itself interest-free? The government works for the banks. The banks work for the true masters. Put that little piece of jigsaw in the puzzle, because I told you that there would be wars, bankers' wars. We've got those ongoing, but there's also the Rothschilds' war, and the Rothschilds' war is this: they own all the central banks around the world, all of them except 6. And I'll tell you who they don't own the central banks of: Venezuela, Hungary, North Korea, Iran, Syria, Russia, and China. Now, it looks like they've already got Syria. If you keep an eye on the geopolitical world, they'll tell you Venezuela's in a bit of a panshite at the minute, because America's not very happy. So out of those 7, 2's almost down. It looks like America is not very happy with Iran, and they may attack their nuclear facilities. So that would be another one. So you can see that it's almost the end game. And if China is going to be the new world's #1 superpower. They will own all the other banks if they can get it off the Rothschilds. But Hungary, that's why you see Hungary in the press all the time. That's why you see Venezuela in the press all the time. That's why Syria is in a real bad way at the moment. And that's why North Korea, are they going to go bankrupt? And you've got Iran, which is a big country, a wealthy country. Are they going to be able to take the central banks off them? So please remember that at any point in the future, because it might take another 10, another 20 years for them to get hold of it. But once they have the money, they will then control the world. So remember this, the American government and or the British government, if you wish, the government works for the banks. The banks work for the true masters, those puppet masters in the shadows. Now, I don't know whether it feels like this to you, but in my view, that feels like organised crime. The government working for the banks. How does that work then? Well, let me explain. The banks are skimming off the top. That's how they're making their profit. How can you ever create money from nothing? The banks are skilled at it. That's why they loan America $36 trillion in debt. How did they get that far in debt? So remember, the banks make money from taxes, interest, and inflation. So once the banks get involved in anything, we're all screwed. You think, oh, I'll just put my money in. Can you not remember when there was the run on the building societies and on the banks a few years ago, where people were trying to get their money out and they couldn't get their money out? And that's why the government had to step in and go, right, we will guarantee if anybody's got up to, 80 grand, 75, 80 grand, and you want it out of the banks, we'll sort that. Because the banks don't actually have your money. The minute it goes in, so say you put £1,000 in a bank, it's gone. Where's it gone? They've loaned that £1,000 out to another 3 or 4 customers. And they're earning interest off loaning your money out to other people. So like the guy that was on social media the other day went into Santander and asked to withdraw 2.5 grand. I mean, to a bank, 2.5 grand, that's a nothing. And they refused him. Get out of my bank. I want my money. It's my money, I want it. EBTB holiday, we need to stand together, friends. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. So, again, I'm taking you kind of Janet and John, and forgive me if that sounds as if I'm being condescending. I don't mean to be. But once we get involved, the banks are involved, we are screwed because they don't allow us insight into what they're doing and how they're doing it. Just remember that banking is the art of creating wealth from nothing. Banking is the art of creating wealth from nothing. So who created debt? So say you're the parishioners in the body of the Kirk. You probably have a degree. You've been, let's take education, for example. You've probably got a degree. But you get the degree, but the deal is you're in debt for the rest of your life. Your student loans. They get you in debt. They get you in debt up to your eyeballs. And that's how they control you. I want to ask you a question though. Seemingly, planet Earth is trillions of dollars in debt. Who to? Mars. So what the majority of people have become, in my view, is food for the debt machine. So let me tell you what I've worked out. Can you remember Elon Musk? Trump didn't say this, but Elon Musk was talking about getting into Fort Knox and wearing a body cam and doing a live on X. So as they walk in, so they can open the doors at Fort Knox and go, boom, there's all the gold. But the thing is, the gold in Fort Knox is actually the American people's gold. So the Federal Reserve said to the government, tell you what, we're going to print your money, but we'll take the gold to the value of that money and we will hold that gold. So because we've printed the money, that gold becomes ours. And I looked at that and I thought, that's fucking corrupt. So you're printing paper money out of nowhere and you're taking the people's gold in return. The physical gold bullion, the physical gold, and they're giving you bits of paper instead. So let me just say this to you. Fiat currency doesn't exist. Money, it's a human construct. It doesn't exist. All the paper money says, pay the bearer of the sum. It's a promise. That's all fiat currency is. It's a promise. And the gold in Fort Knox, the American people's gold, the Federal Reserve has taken control of that gold as collateral against the dollars that they print. So the Fed claim that they're holding it for the Treasury. And the Fort Knox gold was last audited in 1974. They don't even know whether the gold's there. So I would hazard that Elon Musk, being super clever and the richest man on the planet, seemingly, he's mousing the Fed. They're mousing everybody because they're saying, show us the gold. And I would hazard, now I have no proof of this, but I would hazard that if they're asking for the gold to be shown, they don't have it. So who's had the gold bullion out of Fort Knox? Ocean's 13? Who's had it away, so to speak? And Elon Musk was like, yeah, we'll do a live on X. We'll walk in with body cams on and we'll show everybody. And then we hear that the Bank of England, which is owned by our government, that's the difference between the two systems. The government is run by the banks in America. And in this country, the Bank of England is owned by the people, run by the government on behalf of the people. So the Bank of England just flew over a whole load of gold bullion. Obviously, you put it in Fort Knox. And why would they do that? Because the bloody gold's missing. That's why they've not gone in. It's not been audited since 1974. And all the audits that the government seemingly has done, whether it's Pentagon or, the trillions of dollars that disappeared the day before 9/11, convenient. So our bullion from the Bank of England has been flown across to America, possibly to go into Fort Knox. We don't know that. But why would the Bank of England fly gold bullion out to America? What the left hand doesn't know, the right hand doesn't miss. So if you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you, and I'm trying to do it as simply as possible, because sometimes it's a bit dry, like watching Rachel Reeves do her emergency budget, which wasn't an emergency at all. The Fed has taken the physical gold, given the people a piece of paper with a promise on it. Yeah, don't worry, we'll give you all the paper money to the value of the gold that we've just taken. Hang on a second. But you don't own the gold. We do now. Can you see how corrupt that is? So listen to me. Those that control the food supply control the people. Those who control the energy, remember, I've told you that what Putin's doing around the world, Black Sea, Caspian Sea, maybe Greenland with America, but America wants in on all of this. He is creating a situation where Russia has energy independence, gas and oil, energy independence. I've been telling you this for 2 years. Those that control the energy control the continents. And those who control the money control the world. I'm going to say that to you again. Those that control the food supply control the people. Those who control the energy control the continents. And those who control the money control the world. And that's why the Rothschilds want Hungary and Syria and Venezuela and North Korea and Russia and Iran and China. They want their central banks, and they will take as long as it needs to be taken to get those central banks. So remember this, and this is actually quite scary. In America, and thereby Donald Trump has this power, because after 9/11, George W. signed executive orders that have not been rescinded, giving him sole authority to impose martial law and suspend habeas corpus. This gave him dictatorial power, as well as Obama, as well as Clinton, as well as President Shitty Pants. Now, this would give him dictatorial power over the people without checks and balances. Now, in the UK, Starmer is doing very similar without the people's say-so, other than a general election, because that's why he and all of his cohorts in the Labour Party lied to you to get into power. Because once you've elected them into power, it gives the government a mandate for change however they see fit. And not necessarily for the better. We've been witness to this. People have been jailed for memes. And rapists are being allowed off. Wow, didn't know that. Terry Wookford says there was over £500 per ounce difference between US and UK prices for gold over the last month. I think gold hit 3,000, was it dollars or pounds per troy ounce? Alan says, I didn't elect these traders. The Uborval says, click the thumbs up, you wrong-uns. There was so much that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. We'll touch on Northern Justice, as I've titled it. There was a bit about James Bond. They put a couple of producers in place. I just want to, because I mentioned earlier about there's going to be a two-tier judicial system in this country from next week. So a PDF was guilty of attacking a teenage girl. He's been allowed to stay in the UK because he's an alcoholic, seemingly. Now, I find that very difficult. Do you want to know why? He's Pakistani. He's a Muslim. They don't drink alcohol. So he was let out of jail after a sentence for other sex crimes. And a deportation order was raised to send him back to Pakistan. But the European Convention for Human Rights saved him. They said his boozing is uncontrollable. He's a Muslim, they don't drink. And also, in Pakistan, it's illegal to drink alcohol, seemingly. Now he's going back. He's going back in front of a judge later in the year, and I know that the Sentencing Council has decided on the new sentencing. I know that we're really in a bad way in this country when we have white men being sentenced a whole lot worse than other communities. I mean, Pop Idwaza says we need to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. I kind of agree, but the problem is, it's the old, be careful what you wish for, because these snake oil sellers, they really would bend us over and stick it up us. So the European Convention for Human Rights has been around 40 odd years as statute law in this country. What would we lose? I think let's finish off on a question. Right, I'm going to ask you 2 or 3 questions. So fingers on the buzzer. First one, would you support mass strikes across the UK to get rid of the Labour Party government? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Would you support mass strikes across the UK to get rid of the Labour government? Because the French do it all the time. Would you support mass strikes across the UK to get rid of the Labour government? I'll give you another 30 seconds or so. Good to see you, Angelic Inspirations, in the body of the Kirk, of course. Interesting. There are some that would say, I mean, I remember the miners' strike. I remember the steel strike. I remember all the stuff, all the industrial turmoil of the 80s. 3-day working week in the 70s, the electricity cuts. And remember, these morons, these muppets that are in power, Liz Truss told us there was going to be power cuts in the December, just before Christmas. And, well, that never happened. That's because that was the script she was given, and they changed the script. Right, I'm going to ask you another question now. Hang on. Amali, what have you said? Because In the Field says, I binged it the other evening. Brilliant. Ah, yes. Bowden and poop go together like hand in glove. How I say? Terry says, I remember the miners' strike having to twat my cousin with a pick helve. Now, that was taxing, I bet. Right, next question. We're going to do 3 questions. That's question 1 down. Question 2, Reform versus UKIP versus another right-wing party. Who would you vote for? 1, Reform. 2, UKIP. 3, Third Reich. And that translated means a third way. So that third way could be, it could be the Tories 2.0. But would you vote Reform? Oh, interesting. Would you vote Reform or 1, or UKIP, or 3, another right-wing party? Wow, it's really split. Wow. EBTB Holiday, you're very kind, thank you. Interesting. Pop-Eyed Wazza says 2 or 3, Reform have killed my vote. I think Nige doesn't know what he's done. I think there's a lot of upset people and they're just biding their time. And will think about how they're going to vote and who they're going to vote for. So it looks like it could be 3. The third way might be what happens. Catwoman Jones. Now that could be, it could be anybody. It could be Stephen, Yaxley Lennon heading a party up. It could be some of the Reform boys, because it's still action stations in Reform. Alan, there is no 3. Wow, we don't know that yet. I mean, I wish I was psychic. If I knew that, I'd be putting the money on the lottery every weekend. Bring on the Battenbergers, says Des Ashton. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, we're the Battenberg party. Lovely. Would you like some? Final question for tonight. It's going to round the whole live off this evening. And it is simply this. Welcome to your 5th anniversary of your government loving you. Has your life changed since March 2020? It was the 5th anniversary this week of them locking us down, twats. So I'm going to be really honest with you. Have you sadly lost any family members to sudden onset of varying illnesses, turbo cancers, give me a reality. 5 years ago, we were being locked down. We were being told, yes, it's just going to be 5 or 6 weeks. It's not going to be long, just to flatten the curve. And then 2 years later, we are begging to get out of the house. Oh, yes, we're going to change the rules so you can go out if you've got a dog. And everybody's like, can I borrow your dog? Yes, you can go out and go for a walk. You can be in a bubble and you can do this and do that and do the other. And Stuart, sorry to hear that. Lost my uncle to cancer 2 years ago this August. Wow. EBTB. My husband at 61, turbo cancer. And as I've said before many times on this channel, we don't judge anyone because we remember at the time, everyone was trying to do the right thing. They were trying to work it out and do the right thing. So some of us didn't take the jibber jabber, some people did. But now there's evidence coming out that the big pharma have a lot to answer for. And have you noticed? Little Fauci, he's buggered off. Don't know where he's disappeared to, but he has disappeared. The minute that Biden says, yeah, I'm going to pardon him, Anthony Fauci, I'm going to pardon him, everybody turned around and went, hang on a second, well, why are they pardoning him? He hasn't done anything. Has he? He's not been in a court of law. How can you pardon somebody that's not been in a court of law? Wait for the Donald to tackle that one. Dreamer says, I've lost my family members, friends who are now suffering. My partner has suffered 2 heart attacks. Dreamer, that's awful. I'm so sorry to hear that. Tom Harley's lost his sister last year. Mind you, Alan says he did start mowing after his 3rd jab, though. Alison lost a colleague 2 weeks after he had the jibber jabber. And I don't know whether it saddens you, but it angers me. It makes me apoplectic with rage that you never see the headlines. MP collapses in Parliament. You never see any of the hoi polloi, apart from Queen Elizabeth II, who went with, was it bone cancer? She went with a cancer. And they've got the best lifestyle in the world ever. And then Charlie has cancer. And then Catherine has cancer. What the bloody hell did they give the royal family? But you don't see a politician that suddenly got turbo cancer, do you? I mean, listen, the whole country should go and find Esther Ranson and find out what she's been taking or what she's been doing, because she was told she had 4th stage cancer and now it's reversed and she's cured herself. Not allowed to do that. Garen Davis, 5 years ago, boy got a brain tumour, so never got locked down. Wow. Jesus, mad. I took my girlfriend to the doctors for her appointment. 30 minutes later, I was taken into hospital in an ambulance, diagnosed as pneumonia. Last year, I had my annual checkup and was told by doctor, after reading my notes, I had COVID. Wow. That's a hell of a story, Mad Matt. Theo Bovrill's taking ivermectin. You on Joe Rogan. But can you not remember the Donald when he was his first term, 45, President 45? Yeah, I know, Lisa, Alan. And I agree, Dreamer. They have ruined so many lives. But they need to answer for this. And there was Matt Hancock, in my view, the most reviled man in this country. And that takes some doing, considering we've got Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. Wow, Stuart, I got COVID 2 weeks after getting the 2nd jab. Matt Hancock says, oh yeah, I'd do it all again. I bet you would. Shagging your little bit on the side while your wife's at home and her husband's at home. Yeah, mucky tart. Filth. Grubby. That's that man. And he wanted people to die. How he's still living in this country, I have no idea. Burlington Bertie says it took the government 2 years to admit that the lockdowns were bad for mental health. Oh yeah, Des Ashton says, what happened to Chris Shitty? He is it Valance or Shitty that's gone across to Tony Blair's company to make him more money? Terry Wookfit, because most people don't realise the extent of Hancock's duplicity. Well, they're going to find out soon, because it may take another 18 months or 2 years by the time the inquiry concludes and gives some kind of output. I think everyone was the same, Stuart. Lockdown took a huge toll on my mental health, and I'm sorry for that. But these politicians have a lot to answer for. And Dreamer says we should all be compensated. I agree. But would they do that? They've probably shafted so much money out of the system, there's none left to pay us. Nigel Green, Valance is working for Blair. And Alan says nothing will happen to Hancock and Co. Nothing. Nicholas says, I'm a 55-year-old, 6 foot, tough joiner, had more cuts and wounds than most. Me, jibber jabber, sight is still sore. And I think we'll round things off with final comment on everything tonight. Burlington Bertie, read The Real Anthony Fauci by RFK. It's very insightful. I'm thinking about buying that. So if you can recommend a Burlington Bertie, just let me know and I'll give it a read. So thank you for your likes. If you haven't, please, there's over 200 watching at the moment. Just smash the likes so we can get past 200 for this evening's live. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. My name's Adrian Allen, and please make your way out of the body of the Kirk now. We're going to close the door soon to keep the heat in because the nuns just complain endlessly that it's too bloody cold to do anything. And remember, the next live is on, where are we? Sunday night, 8 o'clock, Mother's Day. Enjoy Mothering Sunday if you can, in any way, shape or form. Mine's not around. It is a sadness, but I will be thinking about her all day. Go well, be well, stay safe. And whatever you do, wherever you go, don't forget the Battenberg. See you Sunday, 8 o'clock for a live.